Hey, good morning. Welcome to Monday. Sean, I'll just turn it over and let you go.
Good morning, Mr. Sean Rowe. Today we have some budget review for our department itself. So the first department is OAS Finance. It's gonna be ourselves. We do have some goods and services. This is the internal billings for both OAS Finance and HR. We will be making an amendment to this moving forward so that HR can recognize the revenue in their department and we don't keep it all for them. On the expense side, in 2025, we had 412,000 and 453,000 personnel. This is reflective of an open position in the October, I believe, and the discontinuation of that position. Supplies about 2,700 to 7,600. And then services is 134,000 of 184. This includes postage being the largest one at $75,000. That's our internal postage service, scanning and sending mail out. Internal services about 43,000, and then the equipment lease of 8,000 for our postage machine itself. Any questions on our department? Next up is the 11001 fund, the Rural County Public Facilities. This is a fund we use for the grant programs. So currently it shows about 2.5 million of 2.8. We have accruals that were posted of approximately $500,000 that are not reflected on this. Miscellaneous, just interest earnings, we had about $60,000 of 47 that was budgeted. The better side is the expenses. So in 2025, we actually spent 2.56. We had budgeted 3.136. The difference on that is that we had two additional contracts that the board, one was for the city of Longview on the Mint Farm building, and that's been pushed to June. And so that's gonna be reflected in the 26 budget. And then we also have the city of government's feasibility study for dredge materials that's still pending. Next week, I believe, we'll be in front of the board with, let me look at my timeline here. On the 7th to go over 2026 project list. So we look forward to seeing, we had 10 submissions, and so we'll get that in front of you next Tuesday. Mhm.
What is that? Why are we spending $75,000 postage for finance?
So that's countywide. The part-time postage person, Donatea, and then all the mail that's outgoing through the county runs through her postage machine. So we have a, okay.
Tax statements. Is that what you said?
I believe tax statements are sent through a third party. Any of our internal mail will go through there. I can have a conversation with her and have a better understanding of where most of that material is coming from.
Okay.
Could be a variety of different departments overall.
Sorry, that one was, it was marinating in my brain
Sure.
for a little bit.
No, I wish I had a better answer for you. I will follow up with you. So for 25, a lot of our rural development dollars were for awards. As we talked about, we have the Mint Golf Shop repairs that are pending still. We also awarded to CEDC for personnel support, Fire District 5 for a fire training facility in 25, Fire District 2 for Rose Valley Fire Station, City of Castle Rock for the SR 411 water main, City of Kalama for water plant upgrades. Port of Longview is a continuing one for their rail project. We talked about COG already. City of Woodland is for the sports complex at Scott Hill. And then, of course, the Parks one, which is pending for 26 and 27 as well. And we'll
Sean,
probably
I-
talk about this all again next
After we
week.
issue these monies,
Mhm.
do we go back and check on the completion of these projects?
So up until, I believe, 2024, it was a give the money all now. We have transitioned this program to reimbursement basis, so they have to provide all the documents before we release the funds to them. We have put together some certifications on this for completion of the project and certify that the monies were used for this project in full. We do have a few projects that we know of that have not been completed from some prior years, and we're working to get those expended for the project itself. And those really led to us going to a reimbursement basis instead of a full funding ahead of time basis.
Well, because that's money we could be earning interest on while it's sitting in our coffers, not theirs, with the project
100%.
not being done. Okay.
Yeah. And so on the reimbursement basis, we have been doing either multi-years with expirations associated with those years, or if it's a 1-year item, it'll expire at the end of December. City of Longview was a great one. They come back and said, hey, we're delayed on this project. Can we get extension to June or July? And then the board can make that decision at that point in time. And the current cash balance in here is about $2.12 million. Next up is Fund 112, the Federal Forest Title III. This is funding as part of the Securing Rural Schools. In 2025, there was no distribution. And this would have been in 2025, we would have received a 2024. We did receive these dollars in early 26. We anticipate to receive the 25 distribution in April of 26. And then from there, we'll go out for funding opportunities for the fire districts that work in that area.
So they brought this back because they didn't have it last year and Toodle services some of that area and they were struggling with that, right? Yeah.
So we did receive approximately $16,000 related to 25. That was deposited in 26. And then we should receive 26 payment in April. So it'll be a multi-year funding there, a little
Oh,
bit bigger
okay.
dollar.
So it just got delayed for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Next up, we have the Law and Justice Funding, the Fund 190. This is funded by the Criminal Justice Sales Tax. That's going to be the taxes collected here. And then there was an accrual for another $280,000 from November and December collections. Additionally, we're earning about $57,000 on interest earnings on this fund. So currently in 2025, we brought in approximately 1.44 million with another $280,000 accrual on that. On the outgoing side, we pay a variety of different items out of here. We have personnel of approximately 1.4 million, supplies of 15,000, services of 316,000, capital of 32,000. And then we also had a one-time transfer of $2 million in 25. So the personnel gets distributed across the board. We have some from the sheriff's office, some from the PA's office, clerk, superior court, district court. Our supplies are going to mainly be fuel for the sheriff's office vehicles. Services can range from Spillman, ad litems, and then internal services were about $166,000 out of this fund. The transfer was a $2 million funding to the HOJ remodel project. That was a one-time cost. So in 2025, we spent about $3.8 million or 1.8 ongoing. Current cash balance is about $626,000.
How often do we receive the funding for this?
This is a monthly funding. At the end of the month, we'll receive the sales tax. The criminal justice sales tax is a 0.1%. We receive 10% of that funding, and then 90% of that is distributed based on population, including the county on that one. Next fund is the Budget Stabilization Fund, Fund 185. In 2025, we had interest earnings of approximately $113,000. We budgeted 150. And then other financing sources, it's going to be the transfer in from the general fund of $597,000. We will be asking for an amendment to not transfer these funds for 2026 and looking at this fund in more detail as we move forward. Current cash balance is just shy of $3.6 million.
This is just like our emergency fund.
A rainy day fund, if you would. We may be coming to the board with a policy revision on this fund as well.
What do you want to revise?
Pause until we are
Oh,
in a better budget position.
isn't this one that takes unanimous from us for anything to move out of there?
Yes, sir, it does. And it has some limitations in the policy of what it can be used for.
It can be used for.
Mhm. The next fund up is Fund 506. This is an internal service fund. It's the unemployment compensation. So in 2025, we had revenues of approximately $83,000 and interest earnings of about $9,000. In 2025, we spent about almost $121,000 here. So this is one of our few internal service funds that does not have an allocation. Instead, as we budget for the future year, we look back at the prior 4 quarters and assign out these dollars to those departments. A lot of times departments don't know that that this will be coming. An employee may have resigned and took a different job, but may have left that next job. And the look back period includes us. And so that department may be charged to that employee at that point in time. So for 26, for example, we are looking at quarter 1 of 2025, and then quarters 4, 3, and 2 of 2024 to build the budget allocation. We're looking at trying to do a much closer look back on this, or look at an allocation in total, but that's the current process in place. The next one up is general fund non-departmental, kind of a catch-all, if you will. So we have licenses and permits. That's gonna be mainly the Comcast TV franchise. Intergovernmental, gonna be the payment in lieu of taxes there. Miscellaneous is gonna be our big one. This includes the landfill lease payment in this one. And then other financing sources, we did have a larger boost for 25, the risk department repaying that payment we talked about, I think, 2 weeks ago. And then we also have the debt transfer in here for the coroner's building. Non-departmental expenditures. In 2025, we paid $55,168,000 budget. Supplies, $1,600 of $2,900. Services We're just shy of 3.6 of 3.9 budgeted. Debt service was just shy of $2.7 million. Capital was budgeted but not spent. And then transfers out was $2.7 million. I would love to do this department specifically with the board as its own workshop for a deep dive into it. Because there are a lot of moving parts in here and a lot of items feeding in and out to get a better idea. The board support that. I could set that up for a Tuesday afternoon. All right, we'll do that.
Sounds good.
And then I have one more slide deck. This is the quarterly review. So I do want to say at the time when we pulled this data, which I believe was Wednesday of last week, that not all the accruals have been in place. So some of these numbers may be reduced as accruals are put in place. So through 2026, February, the end of the month, the general fund had collected approximately $8.4 million in revenues and spent $11.2 million. County Road Fund collected 2.3 and spent 2.5. And solid waste had collected 4.8 million with 5.3 outgoing. One of the revenues at a glance here, property taxes have started to roll in. We have our sales and use taxes, which this 2.1 will be accrued back in 25 or has been. Intergovernmental, about $376,000 coming in through 2026 so far. Goods and services, just shy of $1 million. The big one on miscellaneous, the landfill did pay 2 quarters of rent up front this year to help with cash flow purposes. So we're seeing that 3.75 of $7.5 million in there. As we said, real and personal property taxes are coming in, both for the general fund and the county road fund, and some motor vehicle fuel tax. And we've collected approximately 7.3 million in cash in 2026 already. About half of that will be accrued back into 2025. Ooh, got that cut off a little bit as I went to PDF, unfortunately. So general fund compared to prior year is in a lower expenses comparatively. We are 15 million in 2025 as the end of February, and we're 11.2. A large chunk of that is because we have held off on internal service fund payments. For example, IT, the IT invoices will be going out today, I believe, for the first half of the year, and then the second half will go out in October. County road fund is tracked to prior year. And then solid waste is up a little bit, but we have reasons for that. So the treasurer's office gave a good pull here as a 325. We had collected year to date approximately $1.788 billion in taxes so far. We expect that to continue to grow for the first half of the year. You can see on 2021 that $383,000 was that set aside from that settlement. And that was put towards it as soon as it came in. Sales tax. We had a great December, but not such a great November. I'll bring this down so we can see it better. December was up 27%. November was down 16%. Year over year, though, we're about 3.1%. We have not received the dollars for January yet, the March receivable. We do know the number though, and it is in line with 2025's collection. Any questions on the sales tax before we move on? Recording transactions through February of 2026 are up significantly. 18% January, 24% in February.
Sean, is this the number of transactions or is this because we increased our fees or both?
This is the number of transactions. But a great question, great slide into the next one. Is the fees. So as you recall, late last year, the fee increase in the auditor's office happened. We can track that through quite clearly. The revenue income through February is up 45 and 46% respectively. And we can see that translating back into December, October, and September of last year as well. I'm not sure on the exact date that change happened, but I would guess it was September based on the chart. Any questions on these? So we've talked a lot in the last few months on budget and what we're looking at moving forward. Today, I wanted to focus on 27 and possibly 2026 budget. For 27, just as a recap, the approved budget was revenues of $69 million, expenses of $79.5 million, with an unknown revenue of $8.26 million in there. We are still working towards getting the public safety sales tax on the ballot. We have a draft resolution and ballot language. We'll talk with the board on that here in the near future. And that was approximately $3.72 million. We've also made the recommendation of property taxes for all banked 1% and new construction value. That would be about $1.32 million. Today, I want to talk to you on investment earnings. So currently, all special revenue, enterprise, internal service capital funds invest their dollars and retain interest and receive interest earnings back. We did a short survey with some of the counties similar to our size, 3 up and 3 down. And we found that for the most part, if a fund in their government was not required by RCW or ordinance, the interest earnings were for the benefit of the general fund. Special revenue funds and capital funds in the last few years have been earning those interest earnings for Cowlitz County instead of the general fund. In 2022, we were only about $623,000. In 2023, it was about $2.2 million. In 2024, it was about $2.7 million. And in 2025, we were about $2.4 million. Those numbers do not include what the general fund has interest earnings on for general fund dollars itself, nor does that include internal service funds or enterprise funds. As we continue to look at our unknown revenues, one of the options for the board would be to have a policy change in which disallows special revenue funds the privilege of investing those funds. And that could be a revenue generating of the numbers we just talked about annually, but can be quite volatile as the markets change. In 2016, nobody cared about investment earnings because it was only 0.1%.
So Sean, with this policy change, are you talking about retroing the collection of the interest, or what does that look like from this point moving forward?
Yeah, so that would look like a policy change in conjunction, with the auditor's office, treasurer's office, and the finance committee, making a recommendation to the board where special revenue funds would not have the privilege of investing anymore. At that point, any of the uninvested funds could be invested by the treasurer's office for the benefit of the general fund.
So we would sweep 2025's interest forward, or 2026 interest forward, I mean?
Yeah, it would be at whatever date the board made that policy change. Now, I do want to caution, as during the 2026 budget, these departments have made decisions around their budgets with those being included as a revenue source for them. In 2025, some of the largest impacts would be, for example, the road fund was $832,000. Chemical dependency and mental health was approximately $200,000. Opioid fund was 122. Budget stabilization was 126. So those could be affected. Anything that OFM has control over, we've already uninvested fully. And we did that at the beginning of the year.
What are the potential downsides to certain funds if we do this?
Sure. Less funding source to do their intended opportunity. For example, the road fund. Less maintenance and less building of roads, bridges, and structures.
How does this affect our solid waste fund?
So the current recommendation is just special revenue and capital funds, no enterprise funds. Specifically considering solid waste and water sewer, which would have impacts to the consumer. And then talking solid waste, if we were to sweep those, which would be about $3 million alone, that would have a significant impact on their services and how they were able to fund their trust funds, equipment, cell development, and would probably have an impact on the lease payment itself to the general fund. Water sewer would just be a direct impact to the consumers of those areas.
And we're not talking about doing that.
We're not.
Okay.
Same with the internal service funds. We're not talking about those as well. That's going to be, IT, ER&R, motor pool, things of those nature. Not to say that you could not change your mind, and those are open. It would just be anything that's protected by RCW or the ordinance that created the fund. What we're looking for today from the board is, would you like us to continue down this path and look at this in more as a larger process? meet with the finance committee, recommendations, concerns from both treasurer and auditor's office, and then come back to the board with a final policy recommendation at that point.
I think it's a good idea.
Figuring out how to phrase this. I don't have any trouble working down that line. I'm going to go back to, I still struggle with the fact that it's been since November and I still can't tell a department what they would expect to get in 2027. So if I can't tell them that, then we do these things. How can I then translate those numbers in so they can see?
Mhm.
You know, money is numbers are just universal. It just says what it says. It's just, it's something for you to gauge off of. I've talked about, because we heard, and I think it's important that we give these departments, a number. And, my suggestion was take a percentage of what they've had in the past and just divide up that 69 million or whatever we think is coming in. And I can't get anybody to do that, so I did it myself. And I'll send that out to you guys, and I'd like to have a discussion on it because it gives them a number. And then when you do these things, you can translate it in and it can say, well, it's going to increase the black or it's going to decrease your red. So they know where they stand. We've gone through a lot of gyrations. We're doing all kinds of calculations with numbers. But I doubt if I went into the department and said, what do you think your budget is for 2027? I don't think anybody could tell me. I really don't. And they asked for that in November. They asked. And I think it's simple to do, and I don't know why we avoid it so hard. It's not I don't know what is so distasteful about using historical figures and what they've given and giving them an estimate and then work from that estimate. It seems to me if I gave, well, let's use our department. If I go historical, we got to find almost $79,000 somewhere for 2027. So then as we go through these things like we discussed last week with some of the fluff or whatever you want to call that, then those are numbers you can plug in and say, okay, that brings the red down this, or it brings the black up to this. At least you can start tracking what you're doing and if it makes sense. So I don't have any problems, Sean, working down this path. And I'll send this stuff out to you. It wasn't that hard to do. And I'd like to have a discussion on it maybe next week, because I think we need to give these people someplace where there's a starting line. And then as we make these decisions, okay, we're going to take the interest in here. What's that mean? Well, then it comes to us and it gets redistributed outright. Well, what's that mean? Well, we can apply a number to somebody. Or the voters pass 0.2%. We can plug those in and say, okay, that's what this means to you. Or we do whatever we do. This is what it means to you. And it seems to be a hard request, and I don't know why it is, but I'm making a plug for it again. And like I said, I did the math on it, and I'll send that out, and I would like to chat about that next week, because I'm not trying to disagree with the path you're on. I just think they're asking for more clarity, and they can correct me. I mean, but I doubt if any of the departments are very clear at this point in time, and they should be. I mean, we're heading into April.
Hmm.
They should be. Cause I don't want to give it to them in September and then they're scrambling for what they're gonna do. And even if everybody knows the numbers aren't gonna be great, but at least they have a point where they can start from and see how they can adjust and we can make it better. So that's my pitch.
Yeah.
And I'll send that out to you.
Commissioner, what we're trying to do right now specifically is to get to that $69 million because we are not there yet. And that's the intent of this meeting, is to find the revenue to make that 69 what we had budgeted for 27. But I was more than open to work on that and have a discussion on that.
I
next
still
Monday,
think
if you like.
you have to have a start.
Mhm.
And then if in May you find out it's going to be 70 million or you find out it's going to be 68, then it's an easy adjustment and at least they're up to speed and they know where they sit. It's a pretty easy calculation. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Agenda items. Public Works.
Good morning, Savannah Clement. I didn't have a copy of the agenda for tomorrow. I actually left it on my desk. But I believe we have the Tenant Way flare
Yeah.
on the agenda for tomorrow.
A replacement.
It's a replacement, and so essentially that's at our closed landfill in Tenant Way, and we are not producing the amount of methane gas that we were historically because the landfill's been closed. And so this is just going out for downgrading the flare system there. Again, this is part of our post-closure process. It will be paid for out of closure funds, which means it won't affect the normal landfill operation. I believe Patrick will be here tomorrow to discuss it in person as opposed to myself, but.
Okay. I think we asked before and I don't recall the answer. Do we think there's any value in that old flare?
I wouldn't want to answer that today, but I can find out. I wouldn't imagine so unless it was for parts for our flare system at the headquarters landfill.
Because it's been there, I know it's been there a long time and
Right, very long time, because it was the same capacity that we were operating at when the landfill was open there. So it's quite old, and I don't mean to call on Sean, do you know at all how old that flare is? 92?
yeah, so it's
So-
been around a while.
Yeah, but we could potentially use it for parts, although the headquarters landfill flares are relatively, 10+ years-ish, so they're newer.
Yeah.
I could find out, though. All right, any other questions on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that was the only item I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing I see on the agenda for Public Works is just that decision to buy that 2024 truck instead of the brand new one.
The special market condition, yes, so
It's about 10,000.
it saves us about $10,000. We had approval to purchase a new truck, and instead of purchasing a new truck, we are purchasing one that is a 2024 model, which is still new. It has no miles, and so we'll save about $10,000 on that vehicle. Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Corrections.
Good morning, Commissioners. Marin Fox, Director of Corrections. We have an item on the agenda tomorrow. It's a renewal for our inmate pharmacy contract with Westwood Pharmacy. We went out to bid late last year on this and chose the lower of the two bidders, which is the company we've been going with for quite a few years. How long of a contract is it?
It's for 5 years.
Okay. So this we went out for bid this year, but these contracts, this is a 5-year contract. is it a set amount or is it like, we'll give you this for this much, or like a per dose or per pill or something like that, or is it a set contract?
We went with the most, we went off the pharmaceuticals that we use the most, and we gave those to both the vendors. They put their price, and then they also tack on a pharmacy set price, like $1 or $1.50. I'm not sure what the contract exactly says. Westwood Pharmacy came up with a better value for us. And so they'll have to stick with that for the 5 years.
Okay,
And there's nothing in the contract that says they can adjust the price in 5 years?
Correct.
Wow,
yeah,
good job on that.
that's interesting, right? So they give us a cost of what we do, and so then it's just a matter of how much we use it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And we do have another item to discuss with the board regarding the Medicaid Transformation Act, but we can do that at the end after the agenda items, if you prefer.
Well, while you're there, go ahead.
All right.
It's the what act?
The Medicaid Transformation Act, I've spoke with the board about this before. So it's a project now in the state of Washington that
Yeah.
will allow inmates to have Medicaid extended for the first 90 days of incarceration. The state that through the Healthcare Authority, they were offering up to 2.25 million in infrastructure funds for counties to get this project started. So we signed up for it and started kind of looking into what would that look like for the county. Many counties are going forward with it. Some counties aren't. There are a lot of requirements in it. Infrastructure, we need about 4 positions. When inmates leave the facility, they leave with 30 days of medication at release, create offices, software, et cetera. So the upside is that you'd be able to bill Medicaid for some of our medical provider contract, Medico, for some of the services they provide, and that Medicaid would also cover, like when we send the inmate to the dentist, that is currently the cost of the county pays. It wouldn't cover trips to the emergency room for some reason, which is our most typical outside medical care. So in looking at the budget projections, we met with Jason Loreen as well as Sean about this. We were looking at we'd be up about 126,000 in 2026, but by 2030, the county would be expending 1.4 million in the red. So the cost of keeping this program going, we do not predict will be offset by the reimbursement we would get through Medicaid.
So the cost would exceed whatever Medicaid gives us.
Yes. And there are counties that went live with this in July of last year. And so we've reached out to those counties to see how reimbursement's looking, and it is not going well at all. And what we would be able to bill out of our Medico contract, it's not very many, there's not very many portions of that contract we'd be able to bill for. There's a lot of services as well as overhead, all of their liability expense. Those are all things that obviously you're not gonna be able to bill Medicaid for.
Yeah.
So our recommendation is that we withdraw from this. The county has received funds. Those funds are set aside and can be used for anything. So they would need to be returned to the state. The risk to the county is that this could become, if it became a requirement at some point, that the state or the feds say counties have to do this, and that 2.25 million that they're offering now for infrastructure would not be available at that time. There are states that have done this before. I believe California rolled out before we did. I don't believe it's become a requirement in California, and there's not currently talk that it will be, but I think that's the risk I see in not moving forward.
Yeah.
So we're to the point to where we have to decide if we're gonna do this, because we're now gonna have to spend money.
Correct. We haven't
excuse me,
spent-
To get the
yeah.
infrastructure in place to get it.
Yep. in order to go live by July 1, this is the point where we're going to have to start spending money, hiring for positions and really, really pushing at this point on that timeline.
So there's nothing, the state's not doing anything to help the administrative expanse that is gonna cost us. They're just giving us money for infrastructure and that's it.
They're basically giving money to lift it up, to get the project going in your county. There's no ongoing funding from the state for this. The ongoing funding would be anything
billing.
we'd get through the Medicaid reimbursement.
And there's a lot of different attachments, requirements.
Yeah.
that Take up a lot of time.
Sounds like a trap to me. Well,
I'm for turning it down.
yeah, from what you told me today, I think I'd be in favor of just sitting on the sidelines here.
Okay, appreciate that. If something changes, of course, we'll come back to the board. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
HHS, I see Gina is online.
Good morning. Gina James, Health and Human Services. We have one item on the consent agenda tomorrow. This is an amendment to our consolidated homeless grant. This grant is a 2-year grant. So as we're nearing the end of the first fiscal year in this grant, the state is sort of recouping some unspent 2026 funds from the contract. So what we'll have, it's an overall reduction to the contract of about $1.8 million. So that's what's on the agenda for tomorrow.
We talked about this not too long ago. You knew this was coming, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Gina, off the top of your head, do you know how much we've expended out of that?
Not off the top of my head, but I can look. Any other questions?
Thank you, Gina.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any HR stuff that you're aware of? No, we have, well, that's right. She's Dana. Want to talk about yours a little bit?
Good morning, commissioners. So
Did
what
you-
I was discussing today was implementing a storage fee for those families that have not made a decision on funeral homes. I've kind of talked a little bit about this prior, so I'm not sure if you guys have questions or anything that where we can start with.
Read through that and the only question I have is, what happens in the event some long lost relative who didn't have a clue that their relative died and they don't find out about it for a month later and they call you up to say, hey, where did the funeral take place? And you tell them that the body's still never been claimed.
Yeah, so that is a whole nother situation, and we have had that before. But this would go off of the ones where we've done our due diligence to find somebody and we have let them know, and they either don't want anything to do with it. So then we have to hold them per RCW 36, 24, 155. We have to hold them for 45 days before we can take care of them. So therefore, the dignity and respect for those people are, they're just sitting in our office until we can take care of them. On what you're talking about is ones where we've done our search, we can't find anybody. So then we hold them like we would an actual indigent. These other people aren't indigents, what I'm talking about. So, and that's not to say somebody can't come out of the woodwork later on, but we've searched and we can't find them. So if they do and they come in, then I would not be charging them a storage fee or anything like that, because from what we knew, there wasn't anybody from our searches and stuff. So that would be up to us, and we haven't charged them. Of course, we haven't charged anybody before, but that would be on a case-to-case basis. We search, we don't find them, and then the county takes care of disposition. So therefore, if they come to us, then they can reimburse the county for the cremation fee that the county paid.
Okay.
So in that example is the least likely of the two that takes place, correct?
Yeah.
The one where you've done what you need to do,
Yep.
and they just don't do it. They don't
Yeah.
partake, if you will, is the one that's most likely to happen.
Yes. So when we're seeing, the reason I'm coming forward with this now is we're seeing this happen more and more. Families just, nope, I don't want to do anything. It's the county's responsibility. So really, it's not, because they're not technically an indigent. Their family members are just abandoning them. But then they're coming back and wanting their cremains and stuff later, which is not okay, because that puts the financial burden on the county for no reason other than, nope, you take care of it and then I'll come back and get them. That's not okay for the taxpayers to have to take care of that, because they're not indigent. They're just, we're seeing family members abandon other family all the time now, just because of that. So the RCW is basically in place for indigents. That's when they have no family at all. When somebody doesn't have family, then anybody can step up. And we've had friends, we've had church people, we've had other people step forward and say, hey, he was a close friend of mine. I know he doesn't have any family. If you don't find anybody, can I take care of him? Yeah, the RCW states that they can. So we're more than willing to let them do it. And we have people step up, not quite often, but we do have people step up for that. This is basically for the other side of things, the ones that we're seeing more and more step away. I haven't had anything to do with them forever, but that doesn't take their legal obligation away. They think it does, and then they just won't do anything. They won't call us back. They won't, so this is just an incentive for them to take care of disposition in a timely fashion, and not make us hold them for 45 days. Then the responsible party becomes us to take care of disposition, and then they come back and want to claim them then.
So if you have someone that you're trying to contact relatives and the parents live in Virginia, but there's a third cousin lives here in Cowlitz County, have you met your due diligence if you contact the third cousin?
So we have situations like that all the time, where they're whoever is the primary next of kin is responsible for that. So if family lives in another state, Virginia, they have another family member here, they can work together to help take care of that. And if one family member doesn't want to, but another family member does, then what we'll do is we'll have them send us a written confirmation that, hey, I'm giving authority to so-and-so to help take care of disposition. And we do that quite often too.
Well, I guess
So-
what I'm asking is, how do you ensure that the parents in Virginia find out that their son died here in Cowlitz County? if
Because
all you've got for a contact is a third cousin.
usually the search engines that we have, there's a couple of them, and we'll search, and then we'll find out who the legal next of kin is. Sometimes it doesn't say, so we may call one, and then we find out who they are. If they're a third, oh yeah, I'm a third cousin. Okay. Do they have parents or whatever? And we usually get it through through that way too. So
Okay.
unless the parents, you know, they'll say, no, his parents are deceased. He has no, you know, no children of age or no children at all, and then it would go to siblings. And so we usually talk with people if, to find out who they are in relation, and then go and find out, okay, can you help us determine who the other people are, you know? And if they don't have anybody and the third cousin would be the legal next of kin, they could do it if everybody else ahead of them is deceased.
I know Doug was looking into this. I didn't see his response. He was looking into Lewis County's changes.
Yeah.
Are we good with that?
Yeah, so Lewis County implemented this 2 years ago, February of 2024. So, and then I just did kind of one up to kind of explain it a little bit more, and that's what I sent, so then they can look it over. So. And the purpose of this is not to penalize families that are actually acting out in good faith. It's to encourage the others and to comply with the RCWs and their legal obligations. So.
Yeah.
And then dismiss the issues that we've had with them coming back thinking that they can just get them for free. So
Okay.
after the county has, that's the main point, is after the taxpayers have paid for disposition on somebody, they think that they can come back and then just move forward. And that, to me, that's not fair to the county
So
or to
what do
my
we-
office or the decedent for having to wait 45 days.
What do we do with those cremains if somebody does come back now after it's been paid for and done, and they come back 3 months later and say, oh yeah, I want them now? How do we handle that?
So we've only had that happen, and going back to Commissioner Farrell's, we've had one come, it was like, I don't know, 8, 9 months, almost a year later, we still had the cremains in our office. They said, we just heard that, you know, I just heard my dad died. He was, the one that we took care of disposition on was in our system, and everything we looked at, there was no family lines at all. So we took care of disposition. He came in and we said, okay, you just refund the county, you know, for what the county paid, and he was just fine with that. We've had other ones that think that, you know, no, they flat out said, no, I'm not doing it. And then they come in and say, oh, but I want so that's why we're trying to do this, so that it's more of an incentive for them to actually just go to a cremation place. It would cost less just to do it that way. People knowing what the county is getting, because we're getting a pretty good deal. I don't think it's fair for the other cremation places, the county, or any other family members that step up and actually do what they need to do for a family that just totally abandons theirs and then comes back expecting to get the county discount for the cremains.
So how do we dispose of them though? Like, do we just hold on to them indefinitely, or do we
So-
go to a funeral home?
So when we have indigents or abandons or whatever, we take care of disposition. The cremains come back to our office, and then it's usually once a year or so. We take the cremains up to Steel Chapel, and they have a spot there for abandons and indigents. So they hold them up there. So.
Well, Dan, I don't have any issues with what you want to do here. I think it makes sense to me. My only question is right along Commissioner Rader. Usually when we do these things, I just like to know that legal's
Yeah.
chimed in
And-
before we
and-
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's, he was checking in with that, so.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's why I also had submitted the one that Lewis County had done
Yeah.
with a little bit different wording, because like I said, the couple things that they added in there really is already covered, because for homicides, because what they had put in here was that the coroner would not impose a fee if it was a homicide, and the prosecutor's office was wanting to Well, they're technically not ready to be released. They're not ready to go. So that doesn't even, that's not even,
Relevant.
yeah, we didn't need that. And then the one for children, 14 years and younger, it could be, of course, we're not gonna do anything with that. And, but I don't want that wording in there also because there's other counties that have had the issues where families would not make a decision and they just stayed there forever. So you can have it on both sides. So that's kind of like a case by case situation. We don't typically have that issue, but we have had infants, newborns that have been unclaimed. So it would still fall under that, under what we're doing, unless it's a different situation, you know? So it's kind of a case by case situation. But I would prefer not to have those two wordings in there, because you can still have the issue with those two. Not typically, but you still can.
So is this, are we having to rewrite our policy to do this?
I- I just kind of did the one to kind of lay out everything. If they feel they want to do something different, then that's just fine. If you wanted to use kind of what the Lewis County one did, that's fine too, except for I would rather not do the bottom portion, which is the majority of it.
Yeah.
Because it just, it doesn't really have anything to do with what we're doing.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Any other questions regarding that? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Looks like we have one solid waste advisory committee, and I saw an email that they looked us over and suggested we approve this person to the committee. Did you guys see that too?
Yeah.
Okay. You okay following their suggestion on that? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I was gonna update you. I sit on the Timber Caucus Zoom meeting last Thursday. Gosh. I told you I was, had some questions on the expansion of the boundary around streams and what Timber Caucus was doing on that. The forest people have filed an appeal, a legal appeal for that. The dates briefs are due June 5th, June 10th, and June 31st for different, the different entities. First hearing is August 21st. I had two questions on it. Was a stay put in place on this, or do they get to keep moving forward? And there was no stay put in place, so they can keep moving forward with the boundaries. And I asked, is Wasac involved in this lawsuit? And they said no, because we have other counties that agree with the boundaries.
Counties that don't have non-riparian.
Yeah. So Wasac's not involved. I did hear that there's some counties, and I'll reach out to one today, that have either want to be part of this or are looking at their own and see what that's about. But right at this point in time, that's what I know about it. The forest people have put that in, and those are the dates. I'd like to see the counties that are involved be in that, whether they're, how do they put it, where you're friends of the suit, or however they say that or something, but I'll find out more about that. But on Thursday, that's what I found out. Wasac's not involved, 'Which is frustrating.
we had ecology in here last week. I wanted, we should have asked the question, what was their position on that?
I asked, I said, I'd like to talk about this, and Bobick said, it's under, legal and we can't discuss it.
Oh.
That was the,
Well, I guess going forward, I can understand that, but did they take a position on it when it was up for a vote?
oh, they're the ones that pushed it through.
Yeah. Of course.
I know their their position. Yeah. So whatever I'll reach out today and whatever I find out, whatever else is doing, but there is a suit going against it, and hopefully all the legislative measures that, House Bill 2620, that was to, and a Senate Bill 6187, that would have taken this rule back and put in some new rulemaking guidelines before they make it, never made it anywhere. And there was one other. There was like 3 of them in there, but they never went anywhere.
Well, just an update on my conversation with the Corps last week. I think Kelly will get a summary to you guys, or David's gonna get us a summary about that conversation. Okay. It went really well. Was surprised to learn that there's some options that we have that we did not know about with regards to the river, the Cowlitz itself, that David and Cameron are gonna be looking into, and so is Susan. With regards to the dike that we've got that's sloughing and the sediment in the river. I had a good talk with Valerie this morning when I came in. I saw that she emailed me. She sent me a long list of things. I haven't read through that yet, but I think we're making what headway we can with them. I know that they said that there's not going to be any funding in 2027 for the river and the dredging, but that it is, we're looking at getting into the WRDA in 2028. So we have funding available for the dredging. One of the things that she did mention is that it's our responsibility when we get to that point to have a dredge site designated and picked out for that.
Long Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good conversation. I feel like if we can deal directly with Valerie, I think we're going to get more results than the chain of command that we were going through previously. David's going to help with that. So it was a good conversation. I felt like we got some good information. And I'm going to follow up with David this week on what our next course of action could be as we move forward. And then Ricky said he's going to follow up with you to your guys' conversation in DC about.
Yeah, Valerie zoomed into that last year, so hopefully it should do that, that again.
So hopefully we can get some movement on that.
Yeah.
She did give us an emergency, I can't remember what the name of it was, but for LT1, some options that we've got to help with that, and the for emergency funding for the road, and I think it was to, do you remember, Kelly, did she say it was to prevent it from going any further to build up that bank, the funding that had to be used for it? But we probably would not be able to use it as a road, but to prevent it from continue doing what it's doing. There's money that is available for that. And then there was another thing that Susan and David were not aware of with regards to the dike that we're going to be looking into to see if we have some funding available for that, to have them come and take a look at it and repair what needs to be repaired on an emergency basis, so that we're not having to react to a dike that's giving way. So overall, it was probably one of the better meetings that we've had over the last 12 months with the Corps.
a good news item out of Timber Caucus. They did, legislature in both budgets did fund the conservation commissions, like the group we have here that has done a lot of good work. 1.25 million for them around the state, so they'll have some funds. No funding for DNR PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. So I don't know what that means to us. I should have asked Sean how much we get in PILT. I think it's minimal. Okay. I think we covered. Okay. Nothing else. Perfect. We will adjourn. Thanks. Old man syndrome.
Yeah, man.